Welcome to our weekly live chat. Oh, I see everybody starting to come in. Let's get down to it. Did you ever have a feeling that something bad was happening? Even if you didn't have anything bad happening, you felt like something bad was going to happen? That's the general feeling I've had about the Trump presidency and where Trump's presidency is going for about the last month now. It even started before the Epstein scandal. It's It's a situation where you combine the Epstein scandal, which if you have never seen something where I don't know, I was racking my brain. I was trying to figure out if I had ever seen a situation during any Trump presidency outside of COVID where where a scandal was of his own creation, but it was out of his control. It had somehow spun out of control and he can't get control of it back again, and it's spiraling on him. We're past our fourth week of this Epstein thing, and he still doesn't have control of it. He doesn't have any control of the situation at all. I am getting into the live chat right now so I can see you guys. Um, and it looks like to me, it looks like to me the dam's breaking. And like the new economic numbers came out today, and Trump's trying to spin the actual real economic growth of 1% as something good. And they're trying to say, oh, look, everything is fine. But economists have already warned about this. What's happening here is inventory still hasn't quite worn out the whole way yet. And so we're not quite to the point where we're going to see the true impact of the inflation. But the economic drag beneath the basic numbers is showing the impact of inflation. Growth is down to about 1%. It really helps if I get into the right email address so we can see exactly what is happening with the chat. Okay, everybody, here we are. I can see you now. I can see you guys coming in. You take the sagging inflationary numbers, the fact that Trump's only move right now appears to be just throwing more tariffs on everything. And what you have going on is a situation where, last week I said Trump was nearing the end of the line. Somehow, whenever he went to Scotland on the taxpayer dime just to pimp his new golf course, he managed to make the Epstein situation even worse by saying it's a privilege to go to Jeffrey Epstein's island. Now, I already did a video about this, and you guys, in case you haven't seen, I've been putting up virtually daily videos on Politicus USA and the Daily. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I'll put the link in the chat. But that answer made things worse. Then he compounded it by reversing himself the next day on Air Force One, and he has always denied any personal connection to any of the Epstein victims. Well, he confirmed a personal connection to the Epstein victims, to at least one Epstein victim. And we now know that there's some pretty heavy smoke going on here as far as even political damage that's happening. So I'm not going to say Trump was involved in any criminal activity. We have no evidence he was involved in any criminal activity or he did anything with any of Epstein's victims. We don't know that yet. We can't rule it out, but we don't know it. So I'm not going to be one of the ones screaming that Trump said this or Trump said that because we need evidence. Yeah, Mona Gray here says he incriminates himself every time he opens his mouth. Yes, which is why at some point a sane person would realize they need to stop talking. But I have serious doubts about Donald Trump's well-being, mental well-being. So we got bad poll numbers. We got a dragging economy. We got a president whose only answer to everything is to scream tariff. And the White House is now putting out this preposterous idea that they're going to pay for the tax cuts with the tariffs, which means that they increase taxes on it. And that's impossible and it will never happen. Okay. So let's just put that right now. It wouldn't happen. But theoretically, that would mean, and we're going to get to the Texas gerrymander in a second. That's our next topic. Theoretically, that would mean that if you could pay for the taxes with the tariffs, he raised taxes on the American people to give a tax cut to the rich. That doesn't make things better. In fact, it's even worse. So let's talk about. I know the Texas gerrymander is on big news because they released the map today. I'm going to be doing a lot of writing about this for Politicus USA later this afternoon because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. First of all, let's go through three quick points. Number one, Gavin Newsom posted that California will not allow Trump to steal the 2026 election. That's the strongest hint yet that there's going to be a California gerrymander in response to the Texas gerrymander. Number two, DC's DCCC, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, put out a press release right away saying that as soon as this map is official, Democrats are going to sue. There's going to be a whole bunch of voting rights groups suing. They expect this map to be thrown out of court. This map should be tossed. Number three, and this is where it gets really fun. Um, Hakeem Jeffries is meeting with the Texas Democrats to devise a strategy for how they're going to handle this. I mean, the Democrats, if they flee the state, face a $500 fine a day apiece to deny the Republicans a quorum to pass this gerrymander. There's something I wanted to talk about, which was something I came across in the story. I wrote about the gerrymander this morning, and that is very, very simply the Brookings Institute did a study, and they found that the gerrymander is largely a myth as far as it being able to rig or swing an election, that it really doesn't make a difference in terms of seats won or lost. And the story I wrote this morning agreed with that. Republicans were, of course, off the record agreeing with that, saying that if the gerrymander isn't going to be enough for them to keep the House. So this is about, and that's separate from, and I did a whole video on Raphael Warnock's speech on Politicus USA yesterday about the importance of voting rights, the reintroduction of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and why this gerrymander is so important is because it disenfranchises people. It dilutes their voice. That's why this gerrymander is more important. We can argue about the macro impacts of how it impacts an election, but we can't argue that gerrymanders diminish the voice of voters. And the reason why the John Lewis Voting Rights Enhancement Act is so important is because one of the things it does is it expands the level of federal preclearance that states that have had voting rights violations in the past have to go through to include changing their voter ID laws and redistricting, which I think their redistricting was always already subject to it, but this would expand to deal with some of the newer redistricting concepts that have come along since the original Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, I believe. So let's do some hellos. Mark. Hello, Mark and Old Soul. We've seen Old Soul here before. Gene is here. Gene up Carpentier? Oh, that's a tough one. I might have missed that. I was going to call you Carpenter, but that's not right. Margaret Farrell is here. Paul Blumberg is here. Monica Kolovich is here. I hope I got that right. Mike Gaffney is here. Jennifer Harvey is here. Carol Donovan and Jerry Kapinski. Hi, Carol Donovan and Jerry Kapinski. Pete has joined us. Hello, Pete. I just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you. If you're not a subscriber, please do consider subscribing to either Politicus USA or The Daily. We're two different publications, but Sarah and I are on both of them. One of them, Politicus USA, is a bit more news. Daily is a bit more analysis and depth, and Sarah's excellent, great writing. So you should definitely check those out if you can. There's great stuff happening on both of them. And, at a time whenever all these media companies are bending the knee to Trump, at a time when they're paying him off, these big corporate media companies, you can support real independent media. People, I'm talking to you right here. This is me, Politicus USA, The Daily. This is me. You're interacting directly with me. I'm not talking to you through a TV screen or anything else. I'm here right now. So if you can do it, it's really a great use of $6 a month. Plus, we give you more content than almost anybody else, and nobody else at that price level of $6 a month gives you this much news and information. So let's see here. The Texas gerrymander is really interesting because honestly, if we're going to read between the lines, we're talking desperation. And that's why you think the dam's going to break, because a gerrymander is usually an in case of emergency break glass kind of thing for a political party that's worried about losing power. Republicans are like a year and a half from an election and they're already hitting the desperation point. I mean, that's really what you have to understand about this. They shouldn't be at this stage already. See, because these things kind of go in phases. In a normal midterm year, which would be next year, you would see a wave of Republican retirements from the House, which probably will still be coming. And then you would see frantic movement to do something to try to mitigate the damage. The problem is, this is not even a census midterm election. This is a freaking it's just 5 years. They have no new census data to justify this gerrymander. Oh, by the way, guys, if you have questions, leave your questions in the chat. If I mispronounce your name saying hello, you can phonetically put it in the chat. Rabbi Joshua Hammerman has joined us. Hello, Rabbi. Nice to see you today. It's really great to talk to everybody. I told you guys last week we'd be doing some more video. We've started that on Politicus USA and the Daily. Check those out. If you want me to put links in, just say the word. I'll throw some links to the videos here in the chat. You can check all those, catch all those up. The weekly chats are still going to stay here. They're still going to keep going. We might start doing some for the daily subscribers and Politicus USA subscribers, along with the freebie. Last week, the chat went for an hour and 42 minutes. That was probably way too long. So I'm going to try to keep it at about an hour-ish. So that way everybody can guess their questions, come in and talk, and keep everything going. Uh, Paul Funderburk and Karen Capel have joined. Hello, Paul and Karen. Oh, Evangelina. Evangelina is here. Hello, Evangelina. Priscilla Jenkins is here. By the way, guys, if you want more people to see this chat, come in and get engaged, slam that like button, get those hearts flying, because that will push this up in the Substack app, and people will see more of us and get to say, hey, what are those guys up to? And come in and check us out, because this is free. You don't have to be anything to join us. You can just come on in, have a good time, talk with us. This is such a great group of people that we chat with every week too, because you realize that we don't have any problem with, knock on wood, people trolling, negativity, people fighting. We don't have to deal with any of that stuff, because while you guys are really great, respectful people who come with questions, who come with points you want to talk about. And I'm sorry the chat day is a little helter skelter mixed up this week. I got some appointments and things I got to take care of later in the week, being a next week. So I had to figure out a day where I could fit in the chat with you guys. And this was the day, because I don't want to rush your chat. I don't want to just kind of show up and go through the motions. I want to be here and actually engage and talk. So we are to the point where, and something really interesting happened yesterday. I did that Raphael Warnock video of an event Democrats held, a press conference announcing the reintroduction of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. And yeah, we all know it's not gonna pass this year. But it was introduced for a very important reason, because this is getting it on the radar. So if Democrats take back the Senate next year, they will introduce it next year. It's all about lining up support. And I see we got a question. We'll get to that. It's all about lining up support for the future, so that if a Democratic president comes into office in January 2029, that John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act will be ready to roll. It's very important. Okay. How do we prevent our country from sliding into tyranny? Vote. Vote. Protest and vote. Okay. Those are the two things. I could sit here and I can tell you all this stuff that, you know, you Democrats aren't going to do it for you. Institutions aren't going to do it for you. And this isn't tyranny. Let me make it very clear, Priscilla Jenkins. This is not even close to tyranny. Okay. Tyranny is an entirely different thing. This is oligarchy economically speaking, number one. And this is an imperial presidency. I started talking about the imperial presidency last week. Let's do a little bit this week. It's a theory by historian and political scientist Arthur Schlesinger Jr. I will not stop speaking so fast. So that stresses that an imperial presidency is a presidency that tries to place itself above the other co-equal branches of government. This isn't tyranny. This is not tyranny. What it is an imperial presidency. See, Trump hasn't seized any power that hasn't already willingly been given to him by the media, by Republicans in Congress. If you want to stop Trump's power grab, it's not enabling. Trump's power derives from Republicans in Congress. Get rid of those Republicans, you will end Trump's power grab. You will end the seizure of power because he's not seizing power. It's being given to him. Media companies with their payouts, law firms with their payouts, universities with their payouts. They're not telling Trump to come and take power from them. They are saying, here, have our power. We are so afraid of you, 80-year-old man who has never been successful anywhere in your life, that we insist on giving you our power. That's the absurdity of this situation. And that's why we're not going into tyranny, but instead we're going into an imperial presidency, and institutions to a degree are being compliant instead of fighting. The fact that people think this is fascism or tyranny is actually a really good thing, because it means that the American people have never really experienced fascism and tyranny before. I mean, this is important. And and it's not enough that we say, oh, this is an imperial presidency. It's still an unconstitutional activity. And the way to stop it, Priscilla J. Jenkins, is to get the Republicans out of power. Trump could sit there. Trump, we saw what happened whenever Republicans won the House during Joe Biden's term, to use the most recent example. His legislative agenda stopped. And then it became harder and harder for the Biden presidency to have relevancy. That's exactly what's going to happen to Donald Trump. It's what happened to Barack Obama once Republicans took Congress during his terms. I mean, it happens. And that's the way you stop them. It's not tyranny. Whenever it's not a step toward tyranny, it is a final process. That's the whole thing, Priscilla. It's not a step. The end goal from the Heritage Foundation and all these people is to make a unilateral, powerful executive above the other branches of government. So they don't want to end the system of government. They don't want to, do anything that would make the people conscious and rise up and cause any sort of great upheaval. They want to change the structure so that Donald Trump or the presidency is above the legislative and judicial branches. They've been very clear about this. This isn't anything new. They've been talking about this since 2015. So yeah, this is what's coming in there. Yeah, here we're gonna get into an interesting question here. Uh, oh my, Romain Voigt asked, there must be a way of punishing Trump's collaborators in media and academia. Would be a serious boycott. Um, so a serious boycott. That's the problem. Okay, media. The problem with this is boycotts with these oligarchs that are buying these media institutions. Yeah, Hal, you can disagree, but I'm telling you, you're not right. This is not fascism. It is being aided by an oligarch. An imperial presidency is a dictatorship. Definitely, in my view. Your view is not political science. That's your opinion. Facts and opinions aren't the same things. So think about that. Um, there must be a way of punishing Trump's collaboration in media and academia, a serious boycott. The problem is this. A problem with the boycotting, let's say, The Ellisons that bought CBS, they don't care. They didn't buy CBS to make money. These oligarchs that are buying these media companies aren't buying them for money. These are billionaires. They don't care if these companies make a profit. They're buying them for control. They want better coverage for themselves, better coverage for the oligarchs, better coverage for the rich. So boycotts in those respects won't work. Academic institutions, again, they have a lot of big trusts. I don't know how you really boycott an academic institution. They have enough trouble as it is with declining high school graduation populations and enrollment as it is. Yeah, so, yeah, boycotts are not really the answer here. The answer here really is political power. You got to match power with power. And a boycott or something might make you feel good, but if you want real substantive change, the organizing that you would do for a boycott, take that organizing and apply it to voting. And then you're going to get the change you want, and that's going to end. Um, so, and it's like, I know boycotts are kind of fun and they kind of feel good. Um, yeah, those interviews, I understand, but that's still an opinion. Hell says my view is based on interviews of World War II German military civilian survivors, talk with Italian fascists, time spent in France and Spain. Yeah, I mean, that's their perspective in Europe. Europe has a different governing model and different governing history. So you can't just slap Europe on the United States. And I see way too many people doing this. So they're out. Then in a lot of ways, they're apples and oranges. Um, and the resistance you're seeing, I don't disagree that Trump has authoritarian impulses, but he's having trouble enacting an authoritarian agenda, and he's not seizing any power. If you seriously look at this, you can see that he hasn't taken power from people that didn't want to give it to him. Now, the complicity in giving up power is a whole different problem in our society that I think justifies some conversation. Why are these people voluntarily giving up power? Why are they surrendering? Why are they not fighting for democratic institutions? Um, okay, Priscilla has an interesting point. The only boycott I think we need is to boycott the parties, and they say that as a Democrat. Um, yeah, I'm not thrilled with. There's a reason why Democrats don't line up to be interviewed by people like me and Sarah. Uh, because we aren't friendlies, let's say, as she's a Trump term to describe Maggie Haberman. The people that the Democrats run to right now are people that they know that are on their side. They've either given them money, they've raised money for them, they're firmly in their corner. Um, those are the wrong people that Democrats need to be talking to. Democrats need to go places to talk to people that make them uncomfortable. Like we saw, like Rogan. I don't really care for Joe Rogan. I don't care for his style of presentation and all that. But I I know that that's a different audience than Democrats normally attract. And if they want to reach those people and persuade those people, they need to be talking in those platforms where those people are. So, I see this thing where Democrats have stopped going on cable, MSNBC and CNN so much because they think they can go on the liberal podcasts. Well, guess what? Those liberal podcast people, their audiences are already voting Democratic. They don't have persuadable voters. They don't have independent voters. They have voters that are aligned toward the Democratic Party. And so you're not reaching the audience you want to reach. Like my whole thing, if you want to talk about Priscilla with the Democratic Party, Democrats are just way too risk adverse. They're too afraid to take chances. They so worry about being controversial that they turn out boring and disconnected, and they're uninteresting because they try to be so middle of the road and so vanilla and what they think America is. When you're facing what Trump and the Republicans are putting out there, which is basically a disregard for all norms, you need to seriously take risks and push back. Yeah, okay, we got a lot of stuff. We got Lillian has showed up in the chat. Hi, Lillian. Dana Britt. That's why they should stick to the town halls and the red places. Dana, that's a great point. And you know what? They are doing a bunch of those in August. I mean, that they're just doing tons of those. They're going to be everywhere next month with this house recess. I'll be covering as many of them as I can, but as you noticed, unless something crazy happens at them, they barely generate any coverage. And so then that's a shame because you know what? If people don't cover these things, then the Democrats don't see incentive in going there and doing more of them. Okay. Well, okay, we got some stuff here. I got to jump up and see what Lillian has to say to us today first, and then we'll come back down and do a few more questions. Lillian, uh, Rep signature issue is protect rich white people. Everything they are doing could be linked to that, including hiding Epstein material and protecting Maxwell, cutting public services, cutting medical research, subverting our ability to vote through gerrymandering, attacking our ability to contest the power by attacking democracy, all in aid of extending billionaire tax cuts and solidifying power. Indivisible is building a movement, 1 million rising. We need more boots on the ground. We need more of us to fight. Yeah, I mean, we did. I think that the show of opposition is very important right now. And because, we have this whole deal in this country where sometimes protests get looked down on or eye rolled at. This is very important because when people show they are larger than the oligarchs, they're larger than Trump, that is a countervailing force, and that's very important. I don't, Lillian. I have some thoughts on. Lillian brings up if we want to boycott or a general strike, we need to build the capacity. Those things don't happen without building alliances. A general strike would be really hard in this country because the country is so diverse and diffused, and also there's the lack of unionization. Countries where general strikes work largely happen in heavily unionized places. The unionization rate, private sector, is 3% here. There's just not enough people, let's say, necessarily to make a general strike work. Um, and the same thing with a boycott. Boycotts are always really hard unless they're extremely targeted. When you target one brand, one advertiser, one thing, you can't just say, well, I'm going to target everybody that's made a deal with Trump because that's dozens. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of people that have made that terrible decision. It's a difficult situation for that kind of public action. And I agree. Somebody suggested, I think it was, let me scroll down here real quick. Priscilla suggested, we can't wait. How do we push back? How you push back is you make your voice heard every single day. These people in Congress are skittish as it is. Okay. So don't wait. Don't wait for them to do something you don't like. Tell them what you want. And when it comes to Democrats, tell them you want them to push. Don't wait for them to do something for you to react to. Don't be passive. If you have something you really care about, an issue that really matters to you, like, okay, if you or your family member is going to lose health care due to these cuts or your premiums are going to skyrocket and you don't know if you can afford your insurance anymore starting in January, don't wait. Don't wait till it happens. Take action to make sure it doesn't happen. And you know what the biggest threat you can make toward a Democrat is if you're a previous Democratic voter? Tell them you will not give them another dollar. You will not give them another dollar. You will not give that person specifically, that representative or senator or governor or whoever you're talking to, you will not give them another dollar. That political party will not see another penny from you until things change. That, my friends, gets their attention because a lot of these people are all about making money. Okay, out of hell, Texas. Oh, says Jason, love your straightforward manner. Oh, thanks. Thanks. What's part of this? Part of this is trying to prevent information, give information and tell people that it's okay to act. It's okay to act. You don't have no one's gonna come and lead you in this situation right now. So we gotta lead ourselves here. And you know what? If you feel like doing a boycott or organizing a boycott of like one brand or one highly objectionable thing that's sided with Trump, go for it. But this whole mass boycott thing, it's really hard. It takes a long time to set up to be effective. And it's in a country this large with this polarized, it might be difficult to have an impact. And if you want to impact fast, you got to do your thing. Yeah. Priscilla says we have so many people already cannot afford to give money. That's true. As somebody myself who's not a rich person by any stretch of the imagination, um, I don't give any. Well, as a journalist, I don't give any political donations. Even before I don't give any political donations. I will not give money. Period. I can't afford it. I haven't been able to afford it for since COVID. So even if I wanted to, I couldn't. Um, that's true. People can't afford to give money, but you notice that those emails and those texts, man, they keep coming nonstop. $1, $2, $5, $20. Um, yeah, it's endless, and it makes you wonder what their point is. Are they there to represent you, or are they there to make money? And that's an interesting question. Ah, Remain says Dems stop bringing acoustic guitars to missile launches. Enough patient peering over the bifocals already. We need more Chris Murphy and Beddoes. Timid centrists are choking off our energy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they need more people who are willing to, and again, really, and remember, a lot of these people that are taking chances now didn't start out that way. They were kind of pushed into it by your demands for action. So if you are demanding action, they will listen. You know, that's the whole thing. Like the worst thing you can do. Remember, Trump doesn't take power. He lets it be given to him. So the worst thing you can do is just sit there. And Democrats won't do anything unless you demand they do it. So the worst thing you can do is sit there and hope somebody else solves the problem because it won't happen. It just will not happen in this case. Uh, that said, I think Democrats are in really good shape with this midterm. And you can say like the polling numbers, oh, the Democratic Party is unpopular, but it doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because in this country, elections are between two parties. All that matters is the Democratic Party does better than its opponent, or the Republican Party does better than its opponent. Anything else in a vacuum is irrelevant noise. And I say that as somebody who has taken enough political science statistics classes to maybe know one or two things. Um, Kevin Minnie is here. Angela Romero is here. Jay McKay and Mark Kennedy are here. Wow, thank you. Randy S. Eisenberg. Hi, Randy. You've been here before. Wendy in Idaho. Oh no, here we go. We almost made it. 39 minutes without the no. Wendy in Idaho says, I don't think we'll have real elections in 18 months. Okay, I'm not going to pound my head on the desk, but let me explain this to you one more time. Trump can't stop the midterm elections. Midterm elections, all elections, every single election in this country, there's no such thing as a federal election. Donald Trump can't do anything to stop the elections. Elections are state run. There will be elections in 2026. There will be elections in 2028. Don't waste your energy thinking there won't be elections. Instead, make sure those elections, if there weren't going to be elections in 18 months, why would why would they be trying to gerrymander Texas? I mean, there's going to be elections, number one. And number two, what you need to be aware of is make sure those elections are open to everybody and everybody's engaged and everybody can vote. That's what you need to know. That's what I mean to be aware of. Robert says, I want a political science stats lesson. It's kind of like a regular stats course, but it deals with political science data. And, I could do some of that, but my God, that would probably make everybody leave the chat, honestly, except for Robert. Um, Jenny A. And Aunt Moosey. Oh, that's an interesting one. Thank you. Oh, Lillian says they wish there wasn't going to be an election. Um, John up Angela Patelli, PhD, Dr. Angela says John Ossoff is my senator running in 26. He understands spectacle. John Ossoff is really like he's putting on a master class so far of how to handle this kind of campaign in a purple state. And he's doing a great job, and I think he's going to cruise the reelection. And I think that's why Brian Kemp didn't want to run against him. I think it would have been too hard for Kemp. And honestly, it's really hard for governors once they've had executive power to be they've been one of one in their states. It's really hard for them to go back and be one of 100 or one of 435. They don't like it. Governors all want to be president, almost all. So, go John Ossoff, Priscilla says. Lori Mitchell is here. By the way, guys, put your questions in the chat if you got any. We're all right here. I'm here for any questions you have. So yeah, that's I thought when the news slowed up and everybody started going to recess for the rest of the summer, I thought that we would not have maybe have a lot to talk about in these chats. But you guys are bringing the topics and we have all kinds of stuff. I really think that withholding your money from the Democratic Party is a good strategy if they're not doing things you want them to do. I Democrats have had Bove will destroy everything in his path. Thoughts? Jenny A asks. Okay, Bove. Here's the thing about Bove. Bove is a terrible, 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 terrible choice for a federal district judge. That's one that's going to have consequences for the country for a long time. And federal district judges can be impeached. Keep that in your pocket for a couple years down the road. Okay? Think about that, Jenny A. Up, Dr. Angela says, I hope Roy Cooper can handle being one of 100. I think Roy Cooper is going to be a really damn good senator. And yeah, I said that. And I think that Governor Cooper is the right he's already very popular in North Carolina. He has the right temperament to fit North Carolina, and he's going to be a much better senator than Tom Tillis ever was. That's my feeling, and I think I don't like saying this so far in advance in the race, but if he's going up against Whaley, the RNC chair, he's going to win that race. That's my gut feeling guess. Christine has joined us. Ginny Morgan has joined us. By the way, guys, I was discussing with Sarah last night whether or not she could attend today's chat. It turned out she couldn't make it, and I said I think I'm going to schedule this for Wednesday afternoon, and she said, yeah, that sounds good, And then I was about to go to bed last night, and I forgot to schedule the chat. So yeah, I scheduled it a little late. I hope you guys got enough notice to come on in and be here. If you didn't, I apologize. I'll do my best. That's out of hell, Texas. Could Dem president with Dem Congress add seats to the federal appeals court to counter vote? Oh, you know what? They actually could. They could do moves. They could change the size of his district. They could change his federal district. There's all kinds of cute little things Democrats could do at federal court reform, and they were talking about it during the Biden years. But they were really sidetracked with, COVID, a global pandemic, and economy problems, and all that kind of stuff. Priscilla Jenkins is a person of my own heart, Priscilla. I always tell people to send money directly to the candidate. Yes. Don't give money to a third party that claims they're going to share with the candidate. All they're doing is just skimming some money off the top of your donation and put it in their pocket. Okay? So don't. Anybody claims they're going to share donations, I'm sure they will, but if you give them $20 and they give the candidate 3 and keep 17, that's not anybody's real idea of sharing. And it doesn't benefit the candidate. John Winder has joined. Lillian says August is going to be an important month to bring Republicans down. If you're looking for something to do, go with folks to protest your legislator not holding a town hall. Doesn't cost much. No, it's free. It's probably pretty much free minus your transportation cost. And that's a really interesting thing to do because, um, if you start showing up outside of their district office and you're showing up all the time, again, you're gonna get their attention. Not saying they'll hold a town hall because these people probably won't, but you're gonna be on you're gonna get their attention. They're gonna be on notice. Um, and that's what this is about. This is about we live in an environment where we should be able to use Donald Trump to our advantage. And what do I mean by that? Donald Trump makes everything uncomfortable. Well, since people are already feeling a little uncomfortable and since Republicans are terrified of Donald Trump, I don't see why the opposition shouldn't also strive to make people equally uncomfortable in the other way and put an incredible amount of pressure on them. Up Jay McKay. If Nancy Pelosi thinks that Epstein is a distraction, then it's time for her to go. I haven't seen that from Nancy Pelosi. Um, yes, Lillian, I will give you a big yes right there. We have to make it harder to say no to us than yes to Trump. Yep. And people have to know that siding with Donald Trump comes with consequences. I mean, that's really important. They really need to understand that. That, you can't just side with Donald Trump and get off scot free. There's gonna be some sort of penalty if you decide to go that way. So that's what we're dealing with here. How do you and you know what? I think what some of you super brilliant, smart, intelligent people have put out there is really important because you have given other people ways, your fellow chatters, ways to get involved, ways to not feel. And you know what? The big important thing here is don't feel powerless. Do not feel powerless. Sitting on your hands inevitably will make you feel powerless. No matter what your situation is in life, no matter what's going on, if you're not trying to do something about it, you're going to sit there and feel worse. You don't have to sit there and feel worse. Um, I wrote in my piece for the Daily this morning about Democrats needed to step up, take a risk, and shut down this government, even if it means Trump running wild during a government shutdown, to end these premium healthcare premiums and the healthcare crisis that's coming our way. I really strongly feel that. I really, really strongly feel that, and I really believe that this is not a time for anyone to be risk adverse. Donald Trump doesn't have real power. His power is in many ways illusionary. It's derived from fear. It's a given by others. Um, so always remember that, and don't be afraid to stand up and speak up because you saw what happens whenever people are afraid to stand up and speak out, and they make deals with Trump. They end up being the loser in the end, and the country loses. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, Kate Madison is here. I know Kate from the comment section. Hiya, Kate. Barbara Metzger is here. I believe we've seen Barbara here before. Hello, Barbara. Up, Sigrid Walsh and Steve Blicken, MD. Hello, Dr. Steve, MD. Nice to see you. Marcia Byers and Frank Wyman are here. Wow. I'm so glad so many of you regular folks are coming in to join us that I've seen in these chats before. Dan B is here. Hello, Dan B. So, this is really what is happening in this country. We are this organic group of people coming together to talk about what's happening in our nation and what can be done about it. It's frustrating because in some ways, maybe it doesn't feel like there's much that can be done. And some of this bad stuff that's coming may happen. But we can sow the seeds for real change. I honestly think one of the things the DNC is doing right is they're working hard to invest locally and rebuild at the grassroots level. They really need to. But um, it's more important that we don't look at because Republicans, you can see what happens in this country whenever a group of people vote simply based on the letter beside a candidate's name. You don't always get the best candidates. I think it's imperative for voters to demand the best candidates, and you should only vote for a candidate if they fit and they suit you, if they align with your values. Like, you shouldn't vote for somebody who doesn't fit your values. You should be true to yourself when you vote. And if everybody was true to themselves when they voted, instead of voted simply based on what Fox News told them or how they think they should vote to own the libs or whatever, the country wouldn't be in this fractured, super partisan place. Um, um, when will the real campaigning for the 2026 midterms start? Well, there's primaries. You'll see more around the spring of 2026 in time for the political primaries in each party, and you'll really see a kick in the gear over next summer. Um, so now's the time. Now's the time when candidates are kind of getting themselves organized and out there. Um, Now's the time to go talk to some of these people that have declared they're running for certain offices, and now's the time to decide and get answers from them. Is this somebody you feel like you could support? Randy and Tony Garvey are here. Oh, Margie Nowak is here. Hello, Margie. So, if you guys have any questions, oh, Ginny has a problem. Ginny, I think it's kind of rude. Ginny Morgan. I think it's kind of rude to say it's keep closing in on him. The Supreme Court gave him anything he wants. The Supreme Court did not give him anything he wants. That's a common exaggeration and misconception. There's a qualifier there. The Supreme Court said anything he does that's an official act has presidential immunity while he is in office. That's not anything he wants. And the Supreme Court has ruled against him plenty of times in this term. They don't give him anything he wants. They're not they haven't been a rubber stamp. So that's a bit misinformed. It might feel that way, and I understand why it feels that way. KC, yes, think globally, act locally. Gabe Hoffman is here. I believe we've seen Gabe on the chat in the chats before. So you guys have any questions? Not sure what this is about. Jan, what would you like to ask? Not sure what that's about. Amen. Hope Dems shut it down rather than capitulate to this vile budget. Lillian says, as Mario Savio said, put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels of the machine. Jan says, not sure what this is about. What would you like to ask? I'm here to answer your questions. Up, we got Melanie and Tony Moore here. Up, we got Ann and Rita about Trump. Well, when will the next South Park episode air? South Park's air weekly, Jay McKay. Oh, I don't remember what night South Park's on anymore. It's been a long time since I was a regular viewer. Um, thing about South Park is usually when Matt and Trey get a topic that they really want to dive into, they will tend to come back to it. Like the upcoming episode used to be Thursdays. Um, may be something entirely different, but at some point they'll probably the way they left that episode, they'll probably steer back into Trump again. You can just they didn't tie up those loose ends. Um, Invisible and four others joined. And at times, South Park has actually spent like entire seasons on storylines and recurring jokes and things. So that's what you can do when you have a $1.5 billion deal with Paramount, and you can kind of do whatever you want. But the South Park has made them so much money over the years. It's insane. Invisible and four others have joined. Um, to summarize the basic point of how this whole thing began, there is a sense that the dam's going to break here on Trump. Everything he's tried to stuff the Epstein scandal down, to change the subject, to get back on to like the things he wants to talk about. I found it very telling the other day whenever he talked about Epstein, and he was like, "I would rather talk about tariffs." Well, of course he'd rather talk about tariffs. The problem is he's not controlling the conversation anymore. I mean, for the first time in a decade, except for even when Joe Biden was in office, Trump was still controlling the conversation through his court cases and whatnot. Um, for the first time in a decade, Donald Trump's not in control of the conversation, which makes it a perfect time for the rest of us to stand up and start talking and talking loudly. So yeah, when I say the dam's going to break on him, I mean, in one way, we have people in this chat saying that we're on the way to fascism, but then in another way, you see him failing and losing power. So it's really difficult to assess maybe 100% where we are, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the shock and awe going to come in and take power and all this and that. That's not hasn't worked. Um, okay, Dr. Lisa. Hi, Dr. Lisa. Welcome back. You've been here before, of course. I'll Wendy in Idaho. I'll mention the protester in a minute. Uh, I had a thought, Dr. Lisa says. Remember those Left Behind books? What if all the Christian nationalists in the current regime all just disappeared? Um, they're not going to disappear, but what you are seeing right now is their peak, and it's all downhill from here. It's all seriously downhill from here. I knew you had Dr. Lisa. Nice to see you again. Um, Donald J. Trump loves Putin, says Biden never touted his success. His people mishandled his presidency. On that, we are both in agreement. Biden was done a grave disservice by the people around him. Wendy in Idaho, Heritage Foundation are in power. Vance will step in when they want him. JD Vance can't win an election. This, I'm just going to put it out there. JD Vance can't win a national election. Stephen Miller's not in control. Stephen Miller, you see the disaster of the immigration policy. Russell Voigt, that's part of the heritage agenda, of course. Yeah, heritage though. This is again, heritage has overstepped. They've gone too far. They finally gotten their dream to come true, and now they're in for a fall. Um, Lillian says there is a tension between the stuff that is dragging him down and the fact that his folks keep doing illegal stuff that will take months to get to the courts. We have to keep the pressure going. Yes, we do. Hey, Detroit voters here. I was informed by a reliable source that Detroit voter would not be able to make it. I'm so glad you're here, Judith. Nice to see you. Well, you know what I mean. Nice to see you in the chat. So I said I'm going to keep it about an hour. We are going to go, we'll go an extra 10 minutes because I started a little bit late. 10, 15 minutes. Oh, look, it's Sarah Jones. It's Sarah Jones. How did Sarah Jones got logged into her Substack and she is now here? Hi, Sarah. If you wanted to be a co-host and I could find out a way to do it right now, I would put you on camera right now this second, but I'm sure that oh, you're here under the same account as me? Does that mean you can run the chat and pop up and turn your camera on? And yeah, because see, Sarah and I have a joint account. So if we log in both at the same time, um, it's not under Sarah Jones and Jason Eastley though. It's under Sarah Jones, so you might be okay. Um, Detroit voter and Sarah Jones are here. That is the legendary Sarah Jones. In fact, I just finished an article about an amazing, brave woman. Oh, well, that's great. I'll have to be sure to check it out. Let's see. Let's run up to the daily here. Whoop, let's see here. And let's find. Okay. Well, here we go. Oh, here we go. Here's Sarah's article Faux Fascism Fails. We're going to put this in the chat so you guys can run over and check out the person in the chat with us and what she's been writing about lately. And I got to find the chat. Wow, I got so many windows open. I don't know what's going on here. There we are. Okay. It's not published yet. Oh, Sarah's giving us a teaser. Here's a recent from Sarah you should definitely check out. Nah, see, as I can't do that today. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, please ask away. We're right here to answer some questions for. Like I said, I got started 2 minutes late, so I'll stick around for a few extra minutes. Welcome, Sarah from Detroit Voters and Voters. Sarah's story will be up. Kate says, sorry, need to leave the chat. Have a 3 p.m. appointment. Kate, thank you for being here. Please, please have a great appointment. Hope all goes well. Dr. Stephen Quest is here. Hello, Stephen. Hello, Dr. Stephen Quest. Can I go to Dr. Quest or Dr. Stephen? Welcome to the chat. If you guys have any questions, we can sit here and talk. We've been talking about how this presidency is not like Trump's previous presidencies, and it feels like all these things are coming together and the dam's going to break on him. And we've also been discussing how Trump no longer controls the narrative and how we can use, as opposition, how we can use that to step up and make our voices heard because Trump is no longer dominating the conversation. Trump gives Detroit Donald J. Trump loves Putin says Trump gives them so much ammunition they never seem to know how to use it. Trump is wasting a ton of taxpayer money, which is certainly something Dems can use. Now he's transferring money to the Pentagon for his luxury gift from Qatar. Texas just gerrymandered their state. That's true. How does I can never say her name, Ghislaine Maxwell have access to the Supreme Court? Yeah, she's already worked the lower courts for the voter. This is where the case has ended up. This is like her very last appeal. Uh, what do you think about the third party Elon Musk is pursuing? I think if Elon Musk can stay focused for more than 7 seconds, and to be honest, the way he's planning on doing it next year with just a few key congressional House and Senate races, to target places where seats are open or maybe Republicans have weakness, that's the smart way to do it. Um, I don't think he'll stay focused enough to really make it happen. Up Linda Roberta Hibbs, Epstein Gate is still going on. Yes, it is. So the third party thing, Musk has all the resources. He should be able to do this. Uh he doesn't have the attention span or the political savvy, I think, to really do this. So that's going to be very interesting. Um, okay. Has the Supreme Court accepted her case? I thought the Supreme Court was going to hear her appeal. But the Supreme Court hears a lot of appeals and most of them don't go well for the people appealing. Okay. KC says, love you guys, keeping me sane and keeping it real. That's hopefully about Sarah. Because I don't know how sane I keep people. I hope so. Um, so Edward Smith and two others are here. Priscilla Jenkins, third party is most likely a spoiler. That's true, but Republicans made the mistake of elevating Musk. So if Musk spoils anybody's anything, it's going to be in the Republican side of things. There aren't going to be waves of Democrats going over to vote for any Elon Musk party. No, he does not have any attention span at all. Trump, yeah. Musk and Trump both are two birds of a feather in that respect, which is why their friendship probably lasted for so long because nobody was paying attention. So nobody ever understood what the other one was saying about each other. Do we have any other questions? Any questions this week? Up, Harris not running for California governor. That's an interesting. Robert just posted this here in the chat. I really thought that I think she deserves to be governor of California. I think she'd be great at it. I think that, though, after being vice president, any job, even the job of running the fourth largest economy in the world, might seem like a come down. And I also think she wants to be president still. And I wouldn't rule her out as running for president again. Um, Whether or not Democrats are so fickle, I mean, they usually don't like to renominate somebody who's lost a general election. And I I don't know if she has any chance at all winning the nomination if she ran 28. Let's put it that way. Doesn't need attention span, just minions to run it with his resources, Abby says of Musk running his party. The problem is Elon Musk thinks he knows things and he thinks he's smart. So he's supposed to be a hands-on kind of guy. But as we've seen with Donald Trump, when you're a hands-on person who doesn't know what you're doing, well, that doesn't end well. So we'll see what happens there. Uh, Nathan has joined. They now call Dems a Big Ten party for nothing. Yeah, there's a crazy thing about the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party can be a lot like having 15 different coalitions all going around in circles with each other at the same time. Um, but this is a much more representative party of the country than what Trump's party is offering. So, what do you guys think? Kamala Harris not running for governor. I think if it makes her happy, and she didn't have the desire to run for governor, that's good for her. If I think that Democrats can win that governor's race without Kamala Harris. So, and she would have been a good president. She would have been a really good president. I'll be somewhat maybe mini controversial and say she wouldn't have been as good of a president as Hillary Clinton, but she would have been a good president. Um, Al Gore would have been a good president. So, I think the Democrats unfortunately have had in the modern era have had some really qualified candidates lose some elections that they probably shouldn't have lost, that I would blame mismanagement of the campaign on. Um, yeah, I think that's exactly right. Donald J. Trump loves Putin. Maybe governors a step back toward a run for president in the future. Yeah, I think like she didn't want to lock herself down for 8 years as governor. Um, and then she wouldn't be able to run because the presidency right now is on a 2028-2032 cycle. She would be on a 2030-2034 cycle. So she would rule herself out of the next two presidential campaigns. I'm not sure this decision would be about the 2028 campaign as much as it would be about if Democrats lose in 28, running in 32. And Kamala Harris is not old, so she's got some time. This isn't a Trump situation we're talking about here. Sandra Tuttle has joined us. Hello, Sandra Tuttle. Nice to see you again. She's a regular in the chat. She's very nice. Um, so I think we're probably going to wrap this up here in a couple of minutes. If anybody has any more questions, go ahead and fire away because we're going to fire this up. If you are not subscribed to Politicus USA or the Daily, please consider doing so. $6 a month, and again, you're not gonna find a better place with some really cool content and the great rating of Sarah Jones. You get the great rating of Sarah Jones for $6 a month. And they keep me on there too. It gives me something to do and keeps me off the streets. Uh, Here's the link to Politicus USA. And we'll throw the link to the Daily up there as well here in a sec. So here's the link to the Daily. Okay, judging from the numbers on today's chat, you guys seem to like something later in the afternoon. We'll try to get more back on a better schedule for the future. Um, Here's the Daily. Somebody asked about Elizabeth Warren here. Uh, Elizabeth Warren for president, I think that ship may have sailed. She's running for re-election in the Senate. And I think that at her age, I think it's probably not an option for her anymore right now. Okay, Kamala Harris, Sarah says, hi, Sarah. Kamala Harris, whoops, more people that are talking, so I lost track of comment. Back up here. Sarah says, Kamala Harris would have been a great president. And compared to someone hiding the Epstein documents, it's night and day. Ugh! They get that ugh right? That's true. That's very, very true. Yep. Abby agrees with Sarah. She would have been great. Yep, she would have been very good. There's a lot of good choices for governor of California, including Tori Akins, former speaker, and pro tem, says Lillian in Oakland. So Lillian knows. Richard Kaiser and Peter Sikowski have joined. You know what? You guys are coming in now. You guys are definitely used to the later time. I'll try to bump these back in the future. It's the way the schedule worked out this week that we kind of got in at 2 o'clock. I'm going to wrap this up. This chat will be posted on the daily for y'all to watch, relive the memories. If you feel that way. You can catch it all. We'll be back next week with a free live chat. I'll be posting videos. Oh, no worries, Peter. Peter, I mispronounced your name last week. Peter's a regular. Peter, nice to see you. So, next week we'll try to go a little bit later in the day so everybody can be there. Jim Sullivan, sorry I missed you. Well, Jim, it's going to be up here on the daily. You can catch everything up and watch it again. I know a lot of you like to come here and talk to each other, talk to me. So we'll try to get the time right so that something works for everybody. Um, until next time, I'm Jason Easley from Politics USA and the Daily with, you guessed it, Sarah Jones. Um, we will be back next week. There'll be videos going up on the Daily and Politicus USA if we can make it happen, which I think we will be able to. And keep your eyes open because we'll be back around next week at this time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Without you guys, I'd be some guy just sitting here talking into a phone by himself. You guys make all this special and you guys make this happen. Thanks.